Hi everyone, my name is Oliver, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. On a warm afternoon in Palm Beach, Florida, a man named Muhammad walked into the police department with an alarming tale. He claimed that a woman named Dalia had approached him with a peculiar request. According to Muhammad, Dalia had come to him with an offer to hire him to commit murder. However, there was one crucial piece of information that Muhammad failed to provide: Dalia's last name. Despite the limited details, the Palm Beach Police Department deemed Muhammad's story credible and initiated an investigation. After receiving the tip about a woman seeking to have her husband killed, the detectives were faced with the task of identifying the mysterious Dalia and determining who her husband was. To gather more information, they decided to use their witness, Muhammad, to set up a meeting with this woman. The detectives selected the mobile gas station as a suitable meeting location based on Muhammad's statement that Dalia lived nearby. At the mobile gas station, where Muhammad and the woman agreed to meet, detectives set up several vehicles to conduct surveillance on the meeting. Before the woman arrived, the detectives prepared Muhammad on what to say to her. They discreetly placed a wire with a recorder on Muhammad, enabling them to overhear his conversation with the woman as it unfolded. As the detectives continued their surveillance of the mobile gas station, their attention was drawn to the interaction between Muhammad and a woman named Dalia. What caught the detectives by surprise was the appearance of the woman, who did not match the typical profile of someone who would want her husband killed. Dressed in a skirt and tank top, she appeared to be quite attractive. The attractive woman entered the car with Muhammad, who said he couldn't believe she was getting him involved in a murder for hire. Muhammad asked if it was worth getting someone killed. Dalia said yes, she couldn't file for divorce, fearing that her husband would come after her if she tried to end their marriage financially. This woman stated that when the murder of her husband took place, she planned to go to another location, such as Boca Raton, to establish an alibi. Muhammad then questioned the woman if anyone would become suspicious of her after her husband's death, to which she replied, "No, no one would point the finger at me." While the detectives listened to Muhammad's conversation with a woman who was looking to have her husband killed, they were shocked by the way this woman was acting. The way she talked so casually about hiring a hitman to murder her husband sent chills down their spines. As the detectives continued to listen to the conversation Muhammad was having with this woman, she presented pictures of her husband to show Muhammad what the target looked like. The detectives were taken aback by the woman's blatant disregard for the consequences of her actions. Her casual demeanor and tone made it seem as though she was discussing a mere business transaction rather than arranging for someone's death. During the conversation, the woman made a shocking confession to Muhammad. She revealed that she intended to provide a down payment for a hitman to murder her husband. This confession was a significant breakthrough for the detectives, as it confirmed their involvement in soliciting a murder. However, the detectives knew that in order to strengthen their case, they needed to gather more evidence. She proposed to Muhammad that she would take out $1,000 cash and give it to the hitman at a later time. After the woman finished her conversation with Muhammad regarding hiring a hitman to murder her husband, she returned to her vehicle and left the mobile gas station. The detectives followed the woman home to gather information on where she lived. A record check revealed that the address belonged to Dalia, not Dalia as previously believed. Armed with this new information, the detectives ran a background check on the vehicle Dalia used to travel to the gas station to meet with Muhammad. Doing this allowed them to obtain the registered owner's name, her husband, Mike Dio. To Mike and Dalia's friends, they appeared to be in love and a happy couple. The couple met when Mike was at work one day, feeling bored and searching for something to pass the time. As he browsed the internet, he discovered a website offering escorts and decided to order one. Little did he know that this decision would change his life forever. When his escort arrived, Mike was instantly captivated by her beauty. He thought she was stunning and couldn't help but feel a spark between them. Their connection was instantaneous, and they found themselves engrossed in friendly conversation. Over the next few days, Mike and Dalia's friendship grew stronger. They saw each other again, this time spending an entire weekend together. The time together was fun, and they quickly realized that there was something more than just friendship between them. From that moment on, Mike and Dalia became a steady couple. Their relationship took an unexpected turn a few months into dating when they found themselves browsing engagement rings at a local jewelry store. This surprising encounter sparked a conversation about marriage, a topic they had previously discussed. Intrigued by the idea of spending their lives together, Mike decided to purchase a ring for Dalia, symbolizing his commitment to their future. Despite the fact that their relationship was progressing at a fast pace, Mike was deeply happy and in love. Before Mike met Dalia, he had been to prison in 2001 for grand theft, fraud, and false telephone sales. He was sentenced in Broward County, Florida, 2 years after the initial offenses. At the time, Mike was using drugs and needed money, which he later admitted was no excuse for what he did. Mike was sentenced to 2 years in prison on the charges and had 28 years of probation. The court gave him so much probation with the intention of giving him time to pay back the money he owed. However, when he first came home, Mike had no idea how he would repay the loan. Determined to repay his debt, Mike got a job as a cook at a restaurant. He was earning $350 a week, which was certainly not enough to put a dent in the substantial amount he owed. Mike wanted a better financial situation to pay off his debt and secure his release from probation. A friend of Mike's offered him a job in an office just 4 blocks from his house, allowing him to transition from working as a cook to email marketing. As Mike and Dalia started dating, Mike eventually opened up about his probation and informed Dalia of the limitations of his situation. He explained that if he were required to leave the state, he would need to obtain permission. Dalia, who had a strong desire to travel, expressed her desire to explore the world with Mike. Dalia approached Mike with an offer to help him get out from under the burden of his debt. She offered to give him $91,000 if he provided the remainder, which would allow them to clear the debt and embark on the life Dalia longed for, filled with travel. At the time, Dalia was working as a real estate agent and was earning good money. This financial stability allowed Dalia to assist Mike in paying off his debt and clearing his name. Mike contacted his attorney to inquire about how to handle the situation. The attorney advised Mike to gather the required funds, and he would be released from probation. Upon consulting the attorney, Dalia and Mike agreed that placing the money in Dalia's Bank of America account would be the most convenient and safest way. He was excited because he recently got married and was paying off his probation. One day, he received a message from Dalia stating that she had sent money to his attorney from her bank account. Mike followed up with his attorney to ask about the wire transfer status. However, to his disappointment, the attorney informed Mike that he had not yet received the funds from Dalia. Feeling frustrated, Mike decided to wait another day before asking Dalia again about the transfer. However, when he approached her, she insisted she had sent it. Feeling increasingly concerned, Mike decided to reach out to his attorney again. Unfortunately, the attorney reaffirmed that they still had not seen anything. Dalia informed Mike that she had indeed sent the money to his legal counsel, but unfortunately, she did not understand the reason behind the delay or why the attorney had not yet received the funds. It was 2 days since the transaction was made, and the attorney still had not obtained the money. Mike then informed Dalia that he would appreciate it if she could tell him where she had sent the funds. He explained that he needed the receipt to verify the details of the transaction. However, Dalia had a different theory. She suggested that maybe the attorney had stolen the money. Dalia told Mike she was determined to find the lost money. Meanwhile, Mike hoped he and Dalia could move on from this misunderstanding. A supervisor of the Bond Beach Police Department contacted undercover officer Sergeant Whitey Jean and requested his assistance. Sergeant Whitey Jean met with a detective working on the case involving Dalia Dio. The detective provided a synopsis of the case, informing Sergeant Whitey Jean that Dalia was seeking to hire a hitman to murder her husband. The detective explained to Sergeant Whitey Jean that Dalia was expecting a phone call from the hitman. They asked Sergeant Whitey Jean if he would play the part of the hitman and facilitate a meeting with Dalia. Sergeant Whitey Jean agreed to assist with the investigation and decided to take on the role of a hitman. Sergeant Whitey Jean, posing as a hitman, contacted Dalia and demanded an advance payment of $3,000 and the key to her house. The detective requested the key to her house as part of their plan to trick Dalia into believing that the murder would take place at her home. However, Dalia was not happy with this development and contacted Muhammad, the informant, to express her concern. During the phone conversation between Muhammad and Dalia, the detective eavesdropped and feared they might have scared her away. They feared that Dalia might change her mind and find someone else to murder her husband. On August 3rd, 2009, in a CVS parking lot, Dalia met with Sergeant Whitey Jean, who was undercover as a hitman. However, Dalia did not bring the money with her, which prompted Sergeant Whitey Jean to inform her that if he were going to wait to get paid until after the murder took place, she would need to give him $7,000 in cash. Sergeant Whitey Jean also mentioned that he would plan the hit on Wednesday morning, since there were several robberies in the area. He told Dalia he planned to stage a break-in to ensure that the assassination appeared legitimate. Sergeant Whitey Jean informed Dalia that he would make it appear as if he had broken into the house. He would then shoot Mike twice in the head. Sergeant Whitey Jean informed Dalia that he would wait a few days to contact her following the murder of her husband, as he knew that the police would be heavily monitoring her in the aftermath of such a heinous crime. However, Sergeant Whitey Jean assured Dalia that the delay was necessary to avoid suspicion and ensure everything remained covert. During his conversation with Dalia, Sergeant Whitey Jean gave her every chance to back out of the murder for hire. Dalia confidently declared that she was 5,000% certain about her decision, indicating that her mind was made up and that she had fully committed to her husband's murder. Dalia revealed to Sergeant Whitey Jean that Mike walked the dog at a specific time every morning and left the house unlocked. This information was crucial in her plan to deceive him and ensure the success of the murder. She informed Sergeant Whitey Jean that she would go to the gym at the time of the murder, promising to be absent while he entered her house. Sergeant Whitey Jean told Dalia to go to the gym by 6 a.m. and said he would go into her home at 6:30 a.m. At the end of his conversation with Dalia, Sergeant Whitey Jean was shocked by her sheer evilness. The sergeant had encountered many people in his work, but none had the same level of viciousness as Dalia. The detective believed it was important to create a fake crime scene at Dalia and Mike's home to elicit a reaction from Dalia. On the day of the alleged hit, at around 5:30 a.m., Dalia informed Mike that she was going to the gym. Mike replied with, "Okay," thinking it was odd considering she had never gone to the gym before that early. However, he shrugged it off and continued with his morning routine. The detective conducted surveillance on Dalia to ensure she made her way to the gym and went inside. This evidence gave the detective the necessary confirmation to proceed with their plans. However, one crucial aspect needed to be addressed before setting everything up at Mike and Dalia's home. The detective had to notify Mike Dio of the situation. Approximately a half hour after Dalia went to the gym, a loud banging sound echoed through Mike and Dalia's house, causing Mike to rush to the door. To his surprise, the doorstep was crowded with several police officers. Confused and alarmed, Mike asked the officers what was happening. The detective stepped forward and informed Mike that his wife had hired what she believed to be a hitman, but in reality, the individual was an undercover cop assigned to kill him. He further explained to Mike that the entire situation was an elaborate setup orchestrated to look like a hired assassination. Mike was in a state of shock after the police at his front door informed him that his wife, Dalia, had hired a hitman to murder him. After the initial shock wore off, the detectives told him that time was of the essence, and he needed to leave the premises immediately. They proceeded to take him to the police station. At Mike and Dalia's home, detectives staged a crime scene by putting up crime scene tape and activating the cop car lights to create a realistic appearance of a crime committed there. Once the home was appropriately set up, a detective contacted Dalia to inform her that the police were at her house and needed to speak with her regarding an incident involving her husband. The detective asked Dalia to return home for questioning. After speaking with the detective, Dalia returned home to find her house surrounded by crime scene tape and police cars everywhere. She questioned the detective about what was going on, and the detective informed her that they had received a report about a disturbance at her home. The report also stated that shots were fired, and the detective told her that a search of her house had revealed the body of her husband, Mike. The news came as a devastating blow to Dalia. She immediately broke down in tears as the reality of her husband's death sank in. The detective, who had experience dealing with death notifications, noticed that Dalia's reaction seemed unusual. Although she cried, the detective noticed that there were no tears. At the police station, the detective began the interview by questioning Dalia about any potential suspects in her husband's murder. The detective's objective was to extract a confession from Dalia that she had hired someone to kill him. The detective informed Dalia that her husband had been shot twice in the head. Dalia expressed her belief that Mike would never open the door to someone he did not know. She mentioned that Mike was on probation for a stock fraud conviction and had been struggling to get off probation. Dalia claimed there had been issues in the community regarding Mike's attempts to get off probation, as people were not supportive of his impending release because of how much money he owed. She also insisted that their marriage was free from any issues. As the police interviewed Dalia about who could have murdered her husband, unbeknownst to Dalia, Mike stood watching in another room. The detective interviewing Dalia informed her that they were going to get down to business and revealed that they knew the truth behind her husband's murder. They then went on to bring in Sergeant Whitey Jean, who was handcuffed, asked Dalia if she knew him or if she had seen him before. Dalia firmly denied having any knowledge of or ever having seen Sergeant Whitey Jean before. After Sergeant Whitey Jean was led out of the room, the detective informed Dalia that she was being arrested for solicitation of murder. The detective also revealed that the man she had hired to murder her husband was, in fact, an undercover police officer. Dalia was arrested. While Dalia was in custody, the police decided to give Mike, Dalia's husband, who she attempted to have killed, a chance to see her. When Dalia saw him, she tried to call him over. However, Mike refused, stating that he couldn't fix this for her. In his mind, he wanted her to admit to attempting to have him killed, but Dalia remained steadfast in her denial. On April 26, 2011, Dalia Dio's trial took place at a Palm Beach County courthouse. The charges were related to Dalia's alleged attempt to solicit the murder of her husband, Mike. During the trial, Mike took the stand to testify against Dalia. His testimony lasted for 3 days. Dalia's defense argued that the entire plan to murder Mike was actually a publicity stunt for a reality television show. According to her, Mike had agreed to participate in the television show and had orchestrated the entire plot. However, Mike denied having any knowledge of or involvement in this plan. During his testimony, Mike stated that he had no interest in being on a reality show. He refuted Dalia's claims and emphasized that he would never waste his money or put himself in danger for such a purpose. Mike also said that he had no prior knowledge or involvement in Dalia's alleged plot to have him killed. After the defense and prosecution rested their cases, the jury deliberated. Finally, after several hours of careful consideration, they returned with a guilty verdict for Dalia on charges of solicitation to commit first-degree murder with a firearm. The courtroom erupted with gasps and murmurs as the verdict was read. Mike, who was present throughout the trial, felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was relieved to hear that Dalia would serve a 20-year prison sentence for her crimes. It was a just outcome considering the severity of her actions. However, there was also a sense of closure for Mike. He was finally able to move on with his life, knowing that justice had been served. However, after Dalia was found guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder with a firearm, her attorneys appealed, claiming that the jury verdict was tainted by one juror's remark that Dalia tried to poison Mike's drink from Starbucks. However, this remark never came into evidence during the trial, and the jury was only allowed to assess the evidence presented in the courtroom. The appellate court reversed Dalia's conviction, ruling that she was entitled to a new trial. Mike couldn't believe there was going to be a second trial for Dalia after she was convicted for trying to have him killed. As the state went into the second trial in December 2016, they were confident in the facts that proved Dalia solicited her husband's murder. However, much to the disappointment of the state, the jurors reached a hung jury. The judge then declared a mistrial. Dalia faced her third trial in June 2017. After the court proceedings, the jury finally reached a verdict within 90 minutes, finding Dalia guilty and sentencing her to 16 years in prison. In September 2019, the Florida Supreme Court rejected, without comment, a request from Dalia Dio for the court to review her 2017 conviction. After her conviction, Dalia's defense team attempted to have their case heard before the U.S. Supreme Court. However, in February 2020, the court declined to hear the case. Dalia Dio's attorney expressed to the media that the ongoing legal battle has not diminished their determination to overturn Dalia's conviction. They revealed that they plan to file a motion with a federal judge requesting the review of the third trial for constitutional violations on behalf of Dalia. The attorney said this would be their last chance to secure a new trial for Dalia. Despite serving her sentence, the attorney said that Dalia had become highly respected in jail due to her unwavering faith. They claimed that Dalia leads a Bible study group behind bars, which has garnered her praise from fellow inmates. Before Dalia went to prison, she had a young son who visits her regularly. However, due to the circumstances, her son is currently living with his grandmother until Dalia finishes her sentence. This separation has been very difficult for Dalia as she deeply misses being with her son, said her attorney. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content.